Ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Join Crown Jewel Travel and the RadioOnTheGo Travel Club for an unforgettable Caribbean cruise this February. Set sail from Fort Lauderdale on February 16th and explore 3 stunning ports over 7 incredible days. Relax on the beaches of San Juan, Puerto Rico. For more information, contact Crown Jewel Travel at 641-425-8068. Your Caribbean getaway awaits.
The following is a production of Radio on the Go Sports.
Good afternoon. Shawn Dietz joined in studio by Sports Director John Mohwinkle. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing fantastic, Shawn, and I am pumped up for some Week 8 football coming up this Friday. One of my favorite times of the year, and always fun to look at some of these scenarios that we got coming your way here in just a sec.
Yeah, absolutely. We're approaching that time of year. It's very exciting as always, and like we said, it's time to get down to basically brass tacks. Couple of regular season games left here for the higher class teams. Right, we're in week 8. So
correct. So Class 3A on up has 2 regular season games left, and for classes 2A down through 8 player, this Friday will be their final regular season games. Again, some teams are looking for some playoff positioning or just looking to get into the playoffs. Some area teams are eliminated, and we'll possibly be looking to schedule some non-playoff games in Week 9 as well. So, that's kind of what we got on tap here for our larger schools like Hampton-Dumont-Cal. Still an outside shot for them to possibly get in if a lot of things go wrong. So technically still not eliminated, but it's going to be an uphill battle for some teams, whereas other teams in our area are solidly in.
Yeah, I did one of these preview videos last week. It's going to be way better having you a part of this because you know way more about the playoff scenarios. I just press the buttons. So we'll get into it here and get on board with our playoff clinching scenarios here for week number 8. As see how good I do pushing buttons here today. You kind of already talked about Hampton-Dumont-Cal. Need a lot of help, obviously. They started off the season actually pretty strong. They had that little, I guess we should call it maybe a little bit of a hiccup with the forfeit situation, an unfortunate situation that cost them a win. And they've kind of struggled a little bit ever since then, John.
Yeah, and the situation for Hampton-Dumont-Cal, they're probably not going to get a 1 or 2 spot in the district standings in Class 3A District 2. However, right now they are number 25 in the latest RPI rankings. So that's still looking like they're on the outside looking in as far as that's concerned, because how Class 3A works, it's the first and second place finisher in each district plus 4 at-large teams that are decided by that RPI. So Hampton-Dumont-Cal right now on the outside looking in, number 25 in the RPI. You're probably looking at having to get to probably 18 or higher to kind of sniff around at one of those at-large spots.
Yeah, and it's a case where you want to take care of business and see where the chips fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Hampton-Dumont-Cal, that's basically what they have to do. A good chance to get it done at Charles City here on Friday night in Week 8, and then they will host a very good Algona team that's looking to possibly be one of the top overall seeds in Class 3A. So it'll be a tough road for Hampton-Dumont-Cal, but again, just got to win the games in front of you.
There you go. Moving on to Class 2A, Clarion Goldfield Dows already been eliminated from playoff contention are the Cowboys. Iowa Falls Alden has a couple scenarios set up here.
Yeah, so this is one of the more interesting ones, and unfortunately for the cadets, it's going to take a lot here. They are going to be hosting a very good PCM team, number 2 in 2A, still undefeated on the season. So PCM will go into Cadet Field on Friday night looking to finish off an undefeated regular season. PCM is going to be the district champion out of that district. Iowa Falls Alden, though, there's still, the door is still open for a few different possibilities here. We'll go with probably the most likely scenario, at least what it's looking like right now. So that would be an Iowa Falls Alden loss and a Jessup win over a currently winless Vinton Schellsburg team. So if that happens, Iowa Falls Alden, it's kind of interesting. They're going to have to hope for a 3-way tie, meaning West Marshall is going to have to beat Union. So that would make 3 teams be 2 and 3 in district play. And at that point, it comes down to point differential. Iowa Falls Alden's is not very good right now, so the key for the Cadets is to, even if it's a loss to PCM, they got to keep that thing as close as they possibly can, because if they lose by 17 or more, then they're going to be pretty much out when it comes to that three-way tiebreaker. And again, if Union is able to beat West Marshall, that would be an upset, but Iowa Falls Alden would then lose the head-to-head tiebreaker with Jessup, with those two teams being 2 and 3 in district play. And in that case, Iowa Falls Alden unfortunately would not be in the playoffs. If the Cadets do pull off the upset, that would clinch them a playoff spot, in which case they would be either the 2, 3, or 4 seed. So a lot could still happen in that district, but unfortunately for the Cadets right now, they're kind of on the outside looking in.
So, yeah, there you go. Coach Walkingstick, of course, always has the Cadets ready to go. Tough opponent, but this is why we play the games.
You bet.
Moving on to Class 1A, Applington Parkersburg has clinched their playoff spot. Dyke New Hartford doing very well, second ranked in the state. Grundy Center has already clinched the number 1 seed there. South Hardin is locked into the number 2 seed. A lot of action going on here in the area in Class 1A, John.
Yeah, so we'll start from the top and go on down here. AP versus Sumner Fredericksburg. That one's pretty simple. Winner gets the 3 seed in the district, and the loser is the 4 seed. So that's a big difference as well, because the 3 seed out of each district is going to play a district runner-up in the first round, whereas the 4th place team plays a district champion. So if you're a 4 seed, you're going to have a much tougher road ahead of you, especially for the first round. You don't see a whole lot of 4 seeds upsetting 1 seeds. 3 seeds upsetting 2 seeds, that's something that you see quite a bit more often. So AP will be at Ed Thomas Field this Friday night hosting Sumner Fred, with still a lot on the line. You're going to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs regardless, but it's gonna go a long way in determining what your playoff fate is looking like. Moving on to Dyke New Hartford. Again, as you can see on the screen, they are going to be the 1 seed in their district, so they're going to be at home at least for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. However, with the IHSAA rankings, Dyke New Hartford is currently ranked number 2, so as long as they're able to win this one against Denver, who has not had a great season so far, that would almost certainly keep DNH, if not number 2, it would certainly still keep them within the top 4 of the rankings, which would clinch home field advantage through the quarterfinals. DNH is possibly looking at not having to go on the road until a potential trip to the Unidome. So still a lot on the line for Dyke New Hartford with this game against Denver. Moving on to Grundy Center, pretty much the same exact scenario as Dyke New Hartford. Winwood clinch home field advantage all the way through the quarterfinals and not have to get on a bus until going to the Unidome. So pretty much the same scenario with Dyke New Hartford and Grundy Center. And then South Hardin, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. They're going to be a 2 seed regardless of what happens in the district in the other games. So South Hardin will host a playoff game next Friday night against a 3 seed, an opponent to be determined. And I will add this as well. When it comes to the playoff outlooks for these teams and who might play who, Applington Parkersburg did play both Grundy Center and South Hardin in the regular season in non-district play. That means that they will not play one of those 2 teams in the first round of the playoffs, because they will avoid first round or rematches in the first round of the playoffs. Obviously, AP and DNH are not going to play each other in the first round because they won't do district matchups in the first round of the playoffs. They try to avoid those in the second round as well. Usually, the earliest you will see any district rematches would be in the quarterfinal round of the playoffs. So AP is looking at probably going on a road trip somewhere far away from here. We'll just say that. Meanwhile, the other 3 teams on the screen, Dyke New Hartford, Grundy Center, and South Hardin, will all be competing at home here in the first round of the playoffs, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Moving on to Class A. Not a lot happening for us in Class A. All of our Class A teams have been eliminated thus far. I think coming into last week, AGWSR had an outside chance, and then they lost their game against who did they have? I can't remember last week.
Belmont Clemmy. It was not good. That would have had no bearing on the playoffs last week.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
but
yep, there you go. And then Belmont Clemmy's got West Fork this week. There's a couple of programs that have kind of slugged their way through the season. A couple of wins, I think, for maybe one win apiece. Is that right? Can't remember.
I believe it's in that neighborhood. Yeah,
one or two. And then North Butler, they had a bright spot last week. They pulled off a little bit of an upset there against Nashville Plainfield, I know. So
yeah, that was half of what needed to happen for North Butler to remain alive for the playoffs last week. But with South Winnesheek's win over North Tama last week, that put South Winnesheek in a spot where they could not be overtaken in the district standings by North Butler. So even if they finish with the same district record at 3-3, which could still happen, North Butler would be eliminated via that tiebreaker because they did lose their game against South Winnesheek. So that is how the Bearcats are eliminated this week.
All right, and then moving on to 8-player action. That is a game that will actually be happening later on tonight, John, as Clarksville is going to take on Meskwaki Settlement. We've been getting used to Thursday night football in the state of Iowa because of the referee shortage and the way the scheduling has to take place. And we did have Clarksville on Thursday night earlier in the year, and Clarksville is looking to march on into the postseason here as we wrap up the 2024 campaign.
Yeah, and this is honestly one of the most complicated scenarios, partially because of the Thursday night game that Clarksville is playing here against Meskwaki Settlement. So regardless of what happens with Clarksville versus Meskwaki, they're going to be waiting until tomorrow night, Friday night, to determine their playoff fate. So probably going to chalk this up as a Clarksville win. You know, that's just where Meskwaki Settlement is as a program right now. Nothing against them, but Clarksville is going to win this game fairly handily, I would say. So we'll just go with the Clarksville win scenarios here for this one. If they win and Tripola loses to Janesville head-to-head on Friday night, that would clinch Clarksville the number 3 spot in this district, 8-man District 4, because Janesville defeated Clarksville in the regular season, and Gladbrook-Rhinebeck is going to be the district champion out of this district. So if Tripola does happen to beat Janesville, it would create a 3-way tie with Clarksville, Janesville, and Tripola, each having 4-2 district records. And it would be a true 3-way tie because in that scenario, Clarksville would have defeated Tripola, Tripola would have defeated Janesville, and Janesville did beat Clarksville earlier in the regular season. And when these 3-way ties come into play, that's when you have the point differential coming into effect. And I did do some math on this. Clarksville's differential is currently at 3.40, and if they beat Meskwaki Settlement by 17 or more points, that would move their point differential up to 5.67. So it's not a great point differential. We'll just have to pretty much wait and see what happens on Friday night between Tripola and Janesville, because that is really going to determine Clarksville's fate. And on that note, if they do happen to have a 3-way tie and Clarksville does happen to be the first team out and place 4th because of that 3-way tie, they would still have an opportunity to possibly get into the playoffs because 2 wild card teams in the 8-player class get in based on that point differential. I'm not sure if that 5.67 differential would be enough to get them into the playoffs. However, we'll just have to wait and see what happens on both Thursday and Friday night regarding Clarksville's playoff chances. But again, I would say the most likely scenario being Clarksville winning and Tripola losing to Janesville. That's putting Clarksville in the playoffs straight up.
All right. So there it is. There's the playoff scenarios, John, and we'll be covering it all as much as we possibly can. Obviously, 2 FM signals. We'll be covering 2 teams, and then we'll have that coverage as things play out, obviously. Coming up tomorrow night, though, tomorrow night, Friday, you've got Hampton-Dumont Cal at Charles City, and Josh will have North Butler and AGWSR along with Mitch, I believe. Is that right?
That would be correct. Yeah, 6:15 pregame for both and 7 o'clock kickoffs. Hampton-Dumont Cal on 104.9 KLMJ, AGWSR North Butler on 99 The Wave.
Hey, thanks for sharing your expertise with us, John. Appreciate it as always.
You bet. Always a pleasure.
And we'll have the Dale Howard Sports Overdrive. Be sure to catch that right here on Facebook Live and YouTube as well with the Radio On The Go Sports. For John Mohwinkle, I'm Shawn Dietz. We'll see you back here again Friday night.
This has been a presentation of Radio On The Go Sports.
Ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Join Crown Jewel Travel and the Radio On The Go Travel Club for an unforgettable Caribbean cruise this February. Set sail from Fort Lauderdale on February 16th and explore 3 stunning ports over 7 incredible days. Relax on the beaches of San Juan, Puerto Rico. For more information, contact Crown Jewel Travel at 641-425-8068. Your Caribbean getaway awaits.